Hey everyone, I wanted to do a very quick video today to show some of the books that you can get to go along with the Harcourt textbooks. We have done Harcourt Health and Fitness, we've done Harcourt Social Studies, we've done Harcourt Art, and I think that's it. But sometimes I tend to get them on like eBay or places like that. And sometimes you'll see little activity books that pop up or these homework and practice books, and you can't usually see what's in them. And usually they're cheap enough. I just order them and hope for the best. And so far they've worked for us, but I was talking to someone today and mentioned that we liked this activity book and they asked what it was about. So I thought I would just make a video in case other people were interested as well. Now, if you're like a minimalist homeschooler, you probably don't need these. I find them useful for a couple of reasons. One, I have a learner who really needs to have kind of things repeated. It helps her to have a worksheet or something to fill out after she reads a section, just to kind of help her remember the things a little better. So anyway, I'll just show you a little bit in these workbooks. So this is Harcourt Health and Fitness for 4th grade, which we are currently using. She's almost done with it actually. And this is something that she does independently. Unless it's a topic that I want to have a discussion with her on, she does this on her own. And so this is especially helpful for that. But there are, I think I've done another video on this, but I can't actually remember now, but I'm pretty sure I have. But anyway, there are questions like throughout the chapter that you could use. Like you don't have to have this book. I'll show you. But there's vocabulary, and then at the end of each lesson, there's this little lesson summary with questions and other things. And sometimes she asks to do these, and that's fine. But I wanted something that wasn't so open-ended like some of these questions are, and that's something that I could go through later and not have to pull out her book and her notebook and try to find where the questions were and all of that. I wanted something I could just open and see what the question was and what her answer was. So they have these after every lesson, and so yeah, you could just use those. The activity book, she only has one section that she didn't do, so I'm going to try to turn to that section so that I'm not showing her work. So every section, or every chapter, there's just a little section for each lesson. So it's pretty short, and that's what I like. And then I can flip through this later and see exactly what it was she was supposed to answer, just to make sure that she did everything correctly. It tells you what pages in the book that these questions are from. So like for lesson 2, which is pretty much what we do each day she does it, she does just one lesson in the chapter. So she would read that lesson in the book. If she wanted to do any of the questions within the text, she could, and then she just does this section here. There's lots of other ways you could probably use it, but that's how we use it. So every chapter is pretty much laid out the same. There's just one little section for each lesson, and then there is always a reading skill page. And that's what that looks like. And there is always a problem solving page. That's what that looks like. And then there's always a vocabulary reinforcement page, which is usually some kind of word puzzle. So every chapter, that's pretty consistent what each chapter has. A little section for each lesson, and then those 3 pages. So that's what that one looks like. That's called the activity book, and that's for Harcourt Health and Fitness. Now for their social studies, I don't know if they have an activity book, but I do know that they have a homework and practice book. And we're using this year it's a little wonky. I wasn't able to actually find the book this year, so I was able to get a book that had the sheets with the answers, kind of smaller. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. But this is what I got for next year. This is what we're using for social studies for next year. And the just show you real quick like what a chapter looks like and then what the homework and practice book looks like. All right, so here's the beginning of Unit 1. And again, Harcourt is really good. There are lots of different activities and questions throughout the text. Again, we need that reinforcement. So there are some things there. I guess that was the intro to the unit, and here we are into chapter 1. So they've given you this information on the side, kind of what you're gonna be learning and the vocabulary. The places mentioned. There's always little reading check questions. And then there's usually some kind of map and globe skill within somewhere, and then we go on to the next lesson. Here's what the homework books looks like. Again, it's helpful for my learner to just have some worksheets to do afterwards, and so that's how we do these. So this relates to the globe skills, map skills, globe skills. And it tells you at the bottom what lesson it goes with and what the pages were for that lesson. So that's the end of all the lessons. It goes, let's see, that was a skill. And then, oh yeah, there's a chapter study guide at the end. So we find these helpful, but I know it's hard when you're looking like on eBay. There aren't usually pictures of the interior of these books. So hopefully this is helpful. Most of their grade levels are very similar to this. We have, let me see if I can grab it. We have second grade, I think. And that as well, can I find it? I'm not gonna pull the textbook out, but I can show you that that's what the second grade version of social studies looks like. Now, when we did, I bought the second grade version of this health for my son this year. I did not buy him the activity book, and actually we didn't even finish his health book because I just realized it really wasn't necessary for him in first grade. But when he and I did it, we just read it together and then talked through the questions at the end, and that was fine for him. But I just found for my daughter, since she's a little older, she really needs that reinforcement of doing a little worksheet or something afterwards. So anyway, I hope that looking through these was helpful so you could kind of get an idea of what's in these books if you want to add them, if you're using the textbooks and want to add them in. That is what they look like. So hopefully that's helpful, and let me know if you have any questions. One other thing that I wanted to mention, I believe, well, actually, I'm not sure about this one, but for the social studies, if you have the, what is that? Oh, that's where we bought the book. Anyway, if you have the teacher's manuals, you get the answers. You don't have to buy a separate answer key because you have the answers in there. So for the health one, I don't really check an answer key because I don't have one. I just look at it and see if it looks right. So anyway, I just thought I would point that out.